Hey everybody, this is going to be my guide to timers and processing. I'm not going to be using the timer class. This is kind of just a very bare bones tinkerer, kind of really low level kind of idea of how timers would work. If you want to use the timer class, it's definitely going to be easier, but this will give you a better understanding of what exactly is keeping time and how all of that works. So as you see here, we have a standard processing file with our setup and our draw. And in order for us to really understand how timers work, we need to understand how modulus works. So modulus is this operator right here, and it's a lot like this operator right here, except it has a subtle difference that's really powerful, and we can really tap into that. So if I print line 6 modulus 4, then we run that. There we go. Okay, so it comes out with 2. Why? Because modulus is just like division, except it gives us the remainder. So 6 modulus 4 gives us a remainder of 2, because 6 goes into 4 once and has 2 left over. So whatever you have left over is what modulus gives you. Plain and simple, right? Perfect. Okay, so now that we have that, let's talk about frame count, because frame count is what exactly we're going to use to kind of tell us what time it is in the game, essentially, or since the time since the game has started, rather. Okay, so every draw, we're going to print line the current frame, and we're going to use our string concatenation here to do frame count. And as far as other frameworks go, like if you're going to make games and you're going to use Unity, or what's the other big, CryoEngine, or Unreal, I don't know if they track frame count. I haven't seen it before, but I might be wrong. Okay, so we're going to be tracking the frame, every single frame. And so we're seeing it go up and up and up by 1. And yeah, so this is the variable in processing that tracks frame count. Okay. Let's stop that. Boop. Okay. Now that you understand those two concepts, we can utilize frame count and modulus and track what time it is in the game in seconds. First, though, it'd be a good idea to set our frame rate so we know what we're working with. I think it's this. Yeah, okay, so that's how you set your frame rate in processing. And basically what we're going to say is if frame count modulus 60, because that's our frame rate, equals 0, do this. Okay, so what's happening here? Well, we set our frame rate to 60, so we know that every second 60 frames are running. So using a little bit of like deduction skills, right, we can say that, okay, so if we're on the 60th frame, a second has passed. If we're on the 120th frame, 2 seconds have passed, right? Pretty easy. So frame rate, or frame count, modulus 60 equals 0. So when exactly is this going to run? Well, at 1 frame, it's going to return 1. 1 is not 0, so it's not going to run. And it's going to do all the way up to 59. So on the last frame of the second, this will equal 0 and this will run. So if it's the last frame of the second, well, that means every second it's going to run, right? So let's do that. Let's print line, a second has passed. And in our console, we should see this run every second. A second has passed. So, and this is precise. This is an actual second. This isn't like in JavaScript or something where it's kind of a second, or it can be more. This is an actual second. Okay. So that's great if you have something that right at the beginning of the game you want to start rolling and every second after that. But what happens if you want something, say, as soon as a character spawns, 2 seconds after that? How do we track that? Well, let's get right into that. So let's do this in a mouse clicked event, or mouse pressed. I don't remember what it is. I always have to look it up, but that should work. Okay, mouse press, perfect. And here's what we're going to do. Every time someone clicks the mouse, we're going to track what frame they clicked it. And we're going to call that variable something like frame mouse clicked. Boop. Okay, and we're going to make it an integer. And we're not going to initialize it. Okay. So whenever someone presses the mouse, we're going to say the frame the mouse was clicked equals frame count. Because remember, this frame count is running ever since the game starts. So as soon as you click, it's going to see what frame it is on, what frame you clicked. It's going to save that to this variable called frame mouse clicked. Perfect. Okay. And here is where the math gets a little interesting. You might want to watch this video a few times until it really sticks. But nonetheless, pretty simple. It's only using modulus and subtraction. So what we're going to say here is if, and first we need to find the difference between the current frame and the frame it was clicked. So we're going to say frame count minus frame mouse clicked. Okay, so for instance, if we clicked on the 70th frame and it's now the 80th, well, it's going to do 80 minus 70, which is 10. So we know it's only 10 frames since I last clicked. So we're going to do that modulus, and this is where you can do it every time you want. Okay, so every 60 frames is a second. So if I wanted to say 2 seconds after somebody had clicked, we do 120, right? 60 times 2 is 120, bam. Okay, and we're going to do that, and now we're going to print, oh, it doesn't like this. Oh, sorry, comparative. So we have to go equals 0, right? So we're going to say after everyone is clicked, or after 120 seconds, or frames, sorry, after 2 seconds, somebody's clicked, we're going to print line. It's been 2 seconds since I've been clicked. Boop. Okay, and now we're going to run this. And nothing's happening, right? Oh. Oh. I see. Because frame mouse clicked is initializing to something. Interesting. Okay, so since frame count or frame mouse clicked is actually going to be initialized to something because processing does that for you, we're going to have to get a little weird with how we're going to make this happen. Okay, so we're going to try and make this a float and make this such a specific number that it will most likely never run. So like 0.76. And that's how we're going to get around this issue. So now we're going to have to, let's see, that should work. Yeah, that should work. Okay, perfect. So now when I click, every 2 seconds, it's been 2 seconds, 2 seconds, 2 seconds. Okay, so that's great and all for a mouse press, but what about a character spawn? So what you would do at that point is say, I'm going to add a character here, or, sorry, I'm going to add a class, boop, new tab, And we're going to call this character. Because maybe this is your character class, right? So character class character equals, oh no, just this, right? Yeah, okay. So, in your character constructor, we're going to have a variable, actually outside of that, we're going to have a variable called int frame spawned, right? So, this is the frame that the character spawned. And in our constructor, so character, I think it's void character. No, not for constructors. Character takes parameters. This one won't have any. We're going to say, so this is when in another file, when you're calling to create a character, maybe you're putting it into an array list or something, the constructor will be called. And so we're going to say frame spawned equals frame count. And frame count is universal, so you can, or it's global rather, so you can use it anywhere in any of your files. So every time a character is created now, we're setting the frame spawn to the current frame that it was created, right? And now we can track that. So if you were to come back here and create a character, you would just use the same idea of frame count minus character dot frame spawned, right? And then you would modulus a multiple of your frame rate. And then as soon as that equals 0, you have whatever you want to happen. So this could be damage, this could be, I don't know, maybe your turn's up, I don't know what kind of game. But yeah, so that's basically a very, basically the lowest level of understanding you can get for processing. And if you want something a little easier, I think the milliseconds, there's a milliseconds function, I think it's in the timer class. I think that might be a little more digestible. I haven't looked into it myself. But yeah, this should set you up to have a nice solid timer in your processing game. Thanks for watching.